Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 3rd of September 2021, and where else to start this week other than with Cristiano Ronaldo, because he's been in news for more than one reason. Obviously, returning to Manchester United, but also he's broken the record number of goals scored for a men's international team. He's now 111 after breaking the hearts of the Republic of Ireland the other evening with two headers, very good headers. In the last couple of, one minute from the end of the game, normal time, and then one deep into injury time. In fact, after the 5 minutes of injury time was up, so Ireland feel hard done to, but obviously well done to Ronaldo on breaking that record. He takes it off Ali Daei, who's obviously a household name. If you don't know football, you probably won't know who Ali Daei is, the Iranian striker, I think he was. Scored 109 international goals for Iran over a long period of time, but Cristiano's broken his record, so there you go. And obviously the other stories that on deadline day it was confirmed that Ronaldo had re-signed for Manchester United. Last week when I mentioned Manchester City, looking back, I did at the time think there possibly could have been a ruse going on here where the agent had said, Cristiano said, I want to go back to United, so his agent, I think it's Jorge Mendes, said, alright, okay, I'll make it out, but he's going to City, so United have to do something about it, and that's probably what happened. And then he's back at United, he'll have the number 7 shirt, taking over from Edinson Cavani, who's agreed to move to his international number of number 21 that he wears for Uruguay. So I'll be interested to see how good Ronaldo is when he returns to the Premier League. I think people are expecting big things of him. I know he's 36, but he's a centre forward more these days than a winger. He obviously hasn't got the pace anymore, but he's got the skill, the craft to be a good centre forward, and it strengthens United's case in the argument for the league title. Something they probably needed to do, having seen the fact that Chelsea signed Lukaku. Talking of Chelsea, they put up a good performance at Liverpool last weekend. The 1-1 draw. It could have been more, but unfortunately, and the referee had to send him off really. Reece James handled the ball on the line just on half time, which allowed Liverpool to equalise with a penalty by Salah. 1-1 after a good, clever header by Kai Havertz had put Chelsea into the lead early to midway through the first half. So we've sort of like morphed into the Premier League there from Ronaldo, so we might as well carry on with the Premier League news. As it stands at this stage, Tottenham are top and Arsenal are bottom. Now, I wouldn't say either of them are likely to stay in those positions, although you could argue that if Arsenal don't make much progress, Arteta could be on his way out. He's a favourite in the sack race, the Premier League sack race, according to the press releases I've been receiving from Ladbrokes in the last couple of weeks, so he's a clear favourite as well, so it's not looking good to him. Tottenham have made a good start, they're not letting goals in, but scoring. Harry Kane's back in the fold now. I'll come on to his performance for England last night in a moment. But yep, so Tottenham have top and Arsenal at the bottom. Villa drew 1-1 with Brentford. You could argue it was a disappointing result. Brentford have started quite well though, so not too disappointed at that. Leeds drew at Burnley. 1-1 in a bit of a strange game, quite a physical game. What do you expect from Burnley? And it's been an interesting start to the season. Most of the top teams are starting to perform. Obviously, Man City beat Arsenal 5-0. That was convincing. Even before Granit Xhaka got sent off for a foolish foul. He might not have made any contact, but he did go in with the intent of hurting the other player, I thought. He's just stupid, really, isn't he, Xhaka? He's a decent player, but he just doesn't use his brain. So that was 5-0. We were 2-0 down before Xhaka got sent off for Arsenal, so it was always going to be a one-sided game, really. So City is starting to fire a little bit now. Liverpool started well. So it's all to play for when the season restarts in the Premier League, but at the moment we're on the international break. Great result for England last night, beating Hungary away in Budapest 4-0. I won't talk about the racism stuff, it's not very nice for the players to have to go through all this, but I think it was expected. I don't want it to detract from the performance really, so I'm going to talk about the actual performance. First half, very attritional. Hungary had a plan to try and defend. When the plan went wrong in the second half, they had no plan B, and England basically run away with the game. Great performance by Grealish, Sterling, Mount and Kane. The front four all played well. Good work by Rice and Phillips as well, breaking up play in midfield. And the back four really troubled. I think Pickford may have had one save to make and that was it. So second half, very one-sided. Like I say, Sterling was probably, and Grealish probably a standout performance for me. So, and Kane should have probably had a hat-trick more. Grealish put it through twice, one-on-one with the keeper, but he shot straight at the keeper, I think 3 times actually. So definitely twice, so he should have done well, better than that. So that puts England in a very good group position now in the group, should I say. They're 5 points clear, I think, of Poland Hungary and Albania, I think they might be 6 points behind. So they've got Andorra at home at Wembley at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Then the tough ones next Wednesday away in Warsaw against Poland. Robert Lewandowski was amongst the scorers for Poland last night there. Victory over Albania. I think it finished 4-1 to Poland in the end. So I think England may well rest the majority of the players that played last night, and probably Patrick Bamford will probably get a start on Sunday, I would think, give him a good chance to showcase what he's capable of against a Leicester team. So it should be a comfortable win, but you can never take anything for granted. So yeah, good result for England last night. A couple of surprise results last night. Sweden beat Spain. They came from behind to beat them 2-1, including equaliser from Isaac, who looks a very good prospect up front. Swedish striker looks very good, I've got to say, from what I've seen of him so far. And Italy were held to a 1-1 draw in Rome, I think it was, by Bulgaria. Federico Chiesa scored the opening goal, carrying on from where he started in the Euros. But then Italy have equalised in the 39th minute, and that was how it stayed for the rest of the match. So a bit of a surprise result there. But it's a long way to go in the qualifiers yet. The only problem for teams like Spain is that Sweden are top of the group and doing well. They've got 2 points in front, and they've got a game in hand as well, I believe. And only one automatically goes through from the groups. I'm sure they'll get through the qualifiers, through the playoffs if they go to the playoffs. But Spain won't want to be going down that route, will they? It's a bit of pressure on them, but it's like I say, it's a long way to go yet. So that's what's been happening in the international world this week. Coming up this weekend, another group of round of games Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday. Away from the international scene and away from Premier League, FC Halifax Town are in action at Yeovil on Saturday. It's on BT Sport, 5:15, so if you've got a chance you can watch it. Take a few minutes out at least to watch some of the game and see how your local team gets on. If you're from Halifax or a surrounding area, you know it's good to support your local team, so get watching if you can. They've made an improvement after the first game, which wasn't a bad performance. They lost to Maidenhead in the first game of the season. They had 2 good victories over the bank holiday weekend, winning 3-2 at Woking, and then having a 2-0 victory at home to Altrincham on Monday. Played some really nice football on Monday against Altrincham. Billy Waters has made a good start to the season. He scored all 3 league games so far for the Sharemen, so that's a good sign. They were fairly, I wouldn't say they were comfortable on Monday. I saw a report from the Courier saying Altrincham were a distant second, but I wouldn't agree with that, because until Luis scored our first goal they were very much in the game, and they could have taken a lead. It might have been a very different outcome, and they weren't poor at all. So but good performance. Also man of the match performance by Martin Woods on Monday. After being bashed around the head and having to wear a headband, he took it off, came back out like a warrior, and he played so well in the second half. And I think it was the right decision to give him a man of match over Waters. Waters has been unlucky, the 2 home matches, not to be a man of match in either of them, because Jay Ben got the first one. But yeah, after the first game, it's good to see Halifax up there. I think they're in 5th or 6th place at the moment in the table after the first 3 games, but like I say, they've only had 3 games. Yeovil will be a tough task for them. Yeovil won at Aldershot 2-1 on Monday, and I'm sure there won't be any pushover, and we beat them easily last season, 3-0 away at Hewish Park, so I'm sure they'll be out for revenge. So we need to be on our guard, and Pete Wiles promised us that we'll play good football this season, so we started on the right foot. So let's keep it up, we can keep it going. Just before we move away from the world of football, I need to mention that the Women's Super League starts this weekend. First live game on Sky is tonight. Manchester United play Reading, I think, and then the big game this weekend is on Sunday lunchtime. Arsenal play Chelsea, and obviously it's the first time we've been showing the games live on Sky. BBC still have the coverage, and the women's football show is on Sunday evening, as it always has been, I think. So if you missed the bit live games, you can watch the highlights there. That's for you people that love women's football. So I thought I'd mention that. I think that's about it for the football. But when I was at the football on Monday, it was nice to bump into my old friend, schoolmate Steve Talbot, and that segues nicely into the Halifax Cricket League, because he was giving me an update on the position of Shelford North Arm Hedge Top. He fears that the season may well be over for them. They're looking at relegation from the Premier Division. They're quite adrift at the bottom now, and the average points per game is quite a way behind. I think it's like 3/4 of a point behind the next worst team at the moment. So we're struggling, and we need Blackley and Bradshaw to slip up in the remaining games. We'll come on to that in a moment. But it was nice to see also that he brought his son Sam and Harry with him as well. chance for them to see the football whilst the cricket season obviously is not on a Monday. They don't play on a Monday in the Premier Division or in the Halifax League anymore. I haven't used to do it in the past, but not anymore. So it's good to see them getting a chance to watch football. But going on to the Halifax League then, and last weekend, after last weekend's results, we see that at the top of the table we have Triangle, and they're about another 2 points in front of Ivanhoe, but it's an average points. I think about half a point average per game in front, so they're looking fairly strong for the title now. And last weekend's game, they actually lost to Triangle. They lost to Thornton, and Thornton took 12 points from their game against Triangle. They got 5, and also Ivanhoe beat Sawby Bridge. We'll come on to that in a minute. SBCI beat Illingworth. SBCI taking 12 points, Illingworth taking 3. Booth beat Shelford North Arm Edge Top, we've already mentioned. They got 12 points to Shelford North Arms 3. Whalley beat Blackley, 11 points to Whalley, 5 points to Blackley. And in the other game we had Copley, who got 12 points, beat Bradshaw, scoring 3. So coming on to those games, we'll start with the one at Copley. Copley scored 247 for 4. Ollie Thorpe had a big role to play in this game. He scored 77 runs and then took 4 for 41 when he was bowling for Bradshaw, who were all 151 all out in the chase of Copley's 247 for 4. Also need to mention Alex Rowles, who scored 76 not out for Copley. Simon Collins was the only man who really got any success with the ball. He took 3 wickets, but did concede 82 runs in 14 overs, so he won't be happy with the economy, but he did get 3 wickets. And when it came to the chase, Simon was the only one that really made any contribution with the bat. He scored 51 out of the 151 to go with wicket haul, but it was all in vain, and it was a heavyish defeat for Bradshaw, which leaves him in a bit of a perilous position, and we'll come on to that again in a moment. In the game at Ivanhoe scored 259 for 7. Luke Sutcliffe scored 74 runs for them. He was the main man with the bat. And there were 2 wickets each for Orchard. Lord Chris Metcalf and Sam Miller all got 2 wickets as well. But it was a good score by Ivanhoe. And in the chase, I'm afraid to say that Sawby Bridge crumbled to 72 all out. And the only contribution of note was Tom Belfield, who scored 37, which is more than half of the total on his own. I think Halliwell got 13, and they were the only 2 players to reach double figures. I think Orchard scored 4, and the rest all got 1, 2 or 0. And it don't be me to tell them that's not a good performance at all, and it's been disappointing recently from Sawby Bridge. In terms of the bowling, Azam and Ahmed both took 4 wickets each for Ivanhoe, and that keeps them in a strong position in the league table going forward. Looking forward to this weekend, for games this weekend, we've got Booth at home to Blackley, Bradshaw at home to Ivanhoe, Illingworth St Mary's are at home to Copley. Sawby Bridge are at home to Shelford North Arm Hedgetop, a game Sawby Bridge must win realistically. SBCI are at home to Triangle, and Whalley are at home to Thornton. So having looked at the fixtures and also having looked at the table and the forthcoming fixtures, it's imperative that both Bradshaw and Sawby Bridge get a win on the board if they can this week. It's going to be difficult, especially for Bradshaw, because they're playing Ivanhoe, who are chasing the title. But on the last day of the season, which is a week tomorrow, the bottom 4 teams in the table, as it stands, all play each other. So it's going to be very, very difficult for some of them to get out of the situation they're in. Yes, just looking now, Blackley play Sawby Bridge, and Shelford North Arm Hedgetop play against Bradshaw. Now, from my personal point of view, nothing against Blackley, but I want to see Bradshaw and Sawby Bridge survive and get those 9th from 10th positions. And if it can get any higher, that'd be even better. But it's going to be tight. There's not much in the average points differences between the 3 teams anyway. So it's important that we do get some points on the board next couple of games. So all the best to the lads at both Bradshaw and at Sawby Bridge. Hopefully they can get out of there. And Steve, sorry about Shelford North Arm, but it does look like the race has run for them, irrespective of what happens. But you never know. There's still a chance. But it's looking highly unlikely that they're going to get out of this predicament that they're in at the moment. Moving away from the Halifax League then, we're going to talk about international cricket. And England squared the series last week against India in the Test Series, 5-match Test Series, with an emphatic victory by an innings plus. India scored 78 in the first innings, and basically they never recovered from that. Good to see Joe Root again performing well with the bats. In fact, all the top order, he's got he has 3 centuries from the first 3 Test matches, but all the top order performed in the first innings last game. So it's good to see Burns and Hamid and David Milan on his comeback at Headingley, scoring 70. They all made half centuries. Good performance for all of them there, cementing a good lead in the first innings. And obviously India battled hard in the second innings, but they couldn't even get to the total, so they were beaten by more than an innings. The 4th test is now underway. It started yesterday at the Oval, and India were put into bat and they were all out for 191. Good to see the return of Chris Woakes, the Warwickshire star. He took 4 for 55. Good backup from Ollie Robinson as well with the 3 wickets there. He's been a really good find, away from the issues regarding his tweets that we won't go into again from several years ago. He seems to have got his career back on track now, and he's doing really, really well. He's been a good find for England, and you can always rely on Anderson and Craig Overton to chip in as well, and they all got at least 1 wicket. In reply, England are 53 for 3, which leaves it somewhat in the balance, having lost Joe Root just before close last night off for 21. He'll be disappointed to be out, but he can't score 100 every game. Dowie Milan's still there with 26. Burns was out for 5, and Hamid didn't trouble the scorers, unfortunately. So they need to put on a better performance in the second innings. And when it comes round to that, it could be a nip and tuckies this game, I think. 2 very evenly matched teams, especially in English conditions. So it'll be interesting to see how this all finishes. But keep track of what's going on. Day 2 starts today at 11 a.m. Okay, so now we're going to look at basically Speedway, and it's time to talk about Speedway's domestic league. Looks like Wolverhampton are going to finish top of the table after the recent results. They beat Bellevue home and away 49-41 both legs on Monday, and they're in a comfortable position at the top now. I think realistically Peterborough probably still can just about catch them. I'm not sure if they can actually. Bellevue and Sheffield are going to be 3rd and 4th. Sheffield beat Bellevue 49-41, so Bellevue have had 3 49-41 defeats this week, which won't sit well with the management team at the National Speedway Stadium. They'll be disappointed with that, but they'll still feel they've got a chance in the playoffs. Sheffield have improved recently. They've got a decent team really. They seem to have settled down, although they did lose Stefan Nielsen with some nasty injuries, a crash at pool, so get well soon, Stefan. But last night the meeting was described as boring by a Sheffield fan who said it was a good result, but the meeting was boring. The track was very heavy, too much grip, took ages to be graded. Dan Bewley had an engine failure whilst leading Heat 1, and it seemed to be all downhill left from the Aces. Brady Kurt's been performing much better recently, but last night he was back to being poor. He only got 5, which isn't good enough really. The bright lights, at chink of light I suppose for Bellevue, the fact that Charles Wright was top scorer last night, I think he got 10, and Tom Brennan scored 8, and he's improved a bit over the last few weeks as well. Looks a good prospect as Tom. So there's some positives there for Bellevue, and they face Sheffield at the National Speedway Stadium in return B match on Monday in front of the BT Sport cameras. So you can not BT Sport, Eurosport cameras on Monday. So make sure you tune in to watch that if you're interested, of course. In the World Championship last weekend, Togliatti, that was a poor meeting. The track was terrible. I don't know why I have one there. Maybe it's just to expand it to series to Russia, but the track was terrible. It's not conducive to good racing. Needless to say, it's still a 2-horse race at the top of the table. Laguta won the final from Zmarzlik, so he's now 1 point behind. It's very close. 3 rounds left next weekend, 11th of September in Vojens, Denmark, and then the 2 final rounds at the start of October in Torun. It's going to be interesting to see who gets the remaining 4 qualification places, but I think Freddie Lindgren's Morris nailed on for 3rd now, 3rd and 4th. Him and Emil Seifert's not 3rd and 4th. And the rest of the place up for grabs. Ty's in 6th at the moment, Ty Woffenden. Robert Lambert had a bit of a disastrous meeting last Saturday. He finished last. He got 2 points in the meeting, got 1 point overall in the standings. The scoring system, we won't go into that. I'm not happy with it. Most people aren't happy with it, but the FIM obviously and this GP are. But hey, that's not my issue, that's their issue. So we're going to move on to stock cars now. And last Sunday saw the consolation semi-final of the World Championship. There are no meetings this weekend. The World Final weekend is coming up. It's Friday the 10th of September, Saturday 11th of September, and the 2 final drivers to qualify, Frankie Wayman Jr. and 67-year-old John Lundy, 8-time former world champion, got through, which pleased many people. I'm really pleased to see that Lundy's got through to the final. It's great that him and Frank are in there. Anything could happen. The Dutch drivers obviously going to be in the mix. 3 of them in fact appeared at Odsel on last Saturday in the domestic meeting there. So looking forward to the World Final. I've got my ticket, so thank you, Nigel. I'll pay the rest of the money next week. That's good. So looking forward to that. Moving on now, away from those two worlds to the NFL, and the NFL season starts this Thursday. Tampa Bay Buccaneers open the season against Dallas Cowboys late on Thursday evening in UK time, and be interested to see if the Buccaneers can defend their Super Bowl title from last season. Looking at the odds, and mentioned by William Hill yesterday, the best value at the moment are the Kansas City Chiefs. They are roughly 5-1 at both the exchange and with the bookmakers. So there's value in that price. So let's see how the season pans out. I'll be keeping up to date with what's going on as best I can. I'm not a massive NFL fan, but I do keep up. I do have friends who are interested in it, so I'll try and keep up to date with what's going on there. In terms of rugby, Halifax Panthers in the Championship chase, they had a comfortable win over Swinton last Sunday. I think it's 48 points to 12. This weekend they've got a very tough game. They're away to Featherstone at the Millennium Stadium. No, not that one. The one in Featherstone. The one in Featherstone is nothing like the one in Cardiff. And we'll just leave that there, shall we? They've got two or three tough games left now. They've got Featherstone on Sunday away. Then they're away to Whitehaven, which will be a tough match. And then the final home games against Batley, who are a bit of a bogey team for Halifax. So they want to maintain the run of form to try and get themselves in a strong position for the playoffs. They stand third at the moment. They'll be looking to try and maintain that third place. The top two places have gone with Catalan, having not lost a game this season, although they've only played 12 games. And Featherstone have lost just a couple. And they've played 18, so they're clear. So Halifax need to be making sure they don't get caught by the Bulls and the likes of those teams behind them to put themselves in a good position for the playoffs. We've also got events coming up this weekend. It's in the world of golf. It's the Solheim Cup, which is the women's equivalent of the Ryder Cup. That starts tomorrow. Saturday, Sky Sports runs through to Monday the 6th. And before we go, one other thing I want to mention is two other things I want to mention is the Paralympics. Great Britain just looked on the Twitter a few moments ago. 96 medals so far, including 34 goals. Great performance. Sarah Story now has 17 gold medals in her Olympic career, so well done to her. It's a fantastic achievement. Great to see Hannah Cockcroft picking, I think it was a 6th gold medal last weekend, and was it the T34 event? So brilliant for Hannah to get another gold medal on the board. Good Halifax lass there. Brilliant. Well done, Hannah. And the last thing I want to mention was the tennis. Emma Raducanu is performing very well in the tennis. She's through to the third round after a run at Wimbledon in the summer. She's also doing well in the US Open. So come on, Emma, do well. See how far you can go in the ladies' tournament. It's quite open. Most of the top players in both the men's and women's tournaments are still in it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next weekend. Okay, I think that's about it. One other thing which is sort of sport related I want to mention is, and you may have seen a post I did during the week, was with regards to Nathan Cartman. Nathan, local lad, plays football for Scarborough Athletic, and he opened up to the BBC an article about his mental health issues that he was suffering with during lockdown. I'll put a link to it in my Facebook earlier in the week, and it's also on the BBC website, so if you have a look, it just shows you that, you know, it's something like that. You've just got to talk to people. Make sure that you're telling your friends the issues that you're going through, rather than bottling it all up and, you know, contemplating the worst possible situation. So on that note, I know it's a bit of a downer perhaps, but it's something that people need to think about and talk about more. So on that note, that's it for this week, and I'll be back next week with more updates from the world of sport. So until then, it's bye from me.